Hey there, Skyball here. Over the last few months, quite a lot of new and useful ways have been found to break Breath of the Wild even more than it already is. In this glitch compilation, I'll show you what has been going on and how to perform all of them. So, let's get right into it. One of the most recent and most important glitch discoveries is Bow Lift Smuggling Slide, or BLS Slide for short, which allows you to basically float horizontally as long and anywhere you want. It works using a combination of pick-up smuggling and B-lock. To perform it, you'll need a shield, a bow, and something to pick up in front of you. One of your bombs will work just fine. Stand in front of said object, hold your shield, and press ZR and A in quick succession to pick up the bomb while still holding your bow at the same time. Next, jump. While in mid-air, press B and instantly afterwards plus to open your inventory and take off your shield. If you're now still holding the object, all that's left to do is to aim with your bow and to cancel with B. Now you're done with the preparations. Find a ledge about this tall for Link to step up onto. Hold the run button and walk into such a ledge. You should start floating in the air, but don't let go of the left stick or the run button now or Link will fall. Here are a few tricks on how to move around in this state. Make Link face the opposite way of where you want to go and wiggle your stick left to right in that direction. If you do that for a while, Link will continue to build up speed in the opposite direction that you are facing the stick at. Why does this work? During B-lock, holding B will cause Link not to be affected by gravity when in mid-air. This on its own would not be that useful, but we have the smuggled object, which then pushes Link around. Of course, this also works with other objects than your bomb. Octorok Balloon Interruption is one of the other bigger new glitches. By picking up a weapon at the exact moment you attach an octoballoon to it, a wide variety of different things can happen. The first application of this is yet another way of duplicating equipment. Before performing this glitch, unequip the equipment type you want to dupe. Weapons, for example. Place yourself at a spot where the wall and the ground are relatively flat so that the dropped equipment lands right underneath you and doesn't roll away. Using magnesis and holding an item while the rune activates drops the item right at your feet. Do that with an octoballoon while you are standing at the wall. Let the balloon drop and pause again after around a second so that you hear it dropping on the ground. In your inventory, drop the equipment you want to dupe. Now you'll have to be fast. Unpause and instantly mash A to pick the weapon back up. If you are fast enough, you'll be able to pick up a second version of it. You can repeat this as often as you have balloons, which makes for a nice, easy early game method of duplicating equipment if you don't have that many multi-shot bows yet. Sometimes this creates weapons that you can't pick up. You can either ignore them or let enemies pick them up and defeat them to make them pick-upable again. Also, don't worry if it doesn't work on the first try. Some equipment makes it a lot harder to pull it off than with others. If you perform the same glitch I just explained, but with the weapon still equipped, the octoballoon will attach to the weapon you're holding. You can even stasis the balloon to make it snap back to you at extremely high speeds. Active arrow smuggling is also a direct consequence of octoballoon interruption and has really cool visual effects. Equip a bow, preferably the Falcon bow, since it has the fastest draw speed, and optionally an elemental arrow. Perform the first part as usual by dropping an octoballoon under you, but instead of waiting for a second, draw your bow and pause mid-draw. Now continue as usual. Drop the bow and pick it back up instantly after closing the inventory. If the balloon is still attached to you and the arrow seems to freak out, you know that it worked. What actually happens here is that the duplicated bow is slowly falling through the world, and basically the further you and the bow are apart vertically, the clearer this effect gets. After around 4 minutes, change the equipped arrow type and you should see the effect charge on its own. From here on, the animation got slower over time for me, but I've heard people saying it got faster and faster for them. But not only vertical distance matters, horizontal one does as well and has quite a different effect. If you perform active arrow smuggling while being in the overworld and walk quite a bit away from the original spot, the arrow will start to create these hovering lights that will follow you around and look pretty cool. The effect will follow you around until you draw your bow, so be careful when posing for the camera, since ZR and right draws your bow, which then stops the effect. The next one is just as useful as it is easy. The campfire glitch allows you to bypass several restrictions the game sets up for the player to create some kind of a challenge. You might already know it from one of its applications, getting the Master Sword early. This has been possible before with apparatus storage, but this method is significantly easier. Simply place a campfire next to the Master Sword so that both prompts for resting and pulling the Master Sword are available when rotating Link around. Now look straight up and rest at the campfire. Upon waking up, mash A and you will have the Master Sword with fewer than 13 hearts. Of course, you'll have to make sure to have enough free space in your inventory or you won't be able to pick it up anyways. That gives me an idea. By performing active arrow smuggling first and then pulling the now invisible Master Sword, we can make it look as if we were pulling the Master Arrow from the pedestal. Okay, back to the campfire glitch. Usually, you cannot save inside of the Giga hideout during the mission. But if you perform the campfire glitch by again resting at the campfire while looking up, you can pause right after waking up and save nonetheless. Usually, you would first have to exit Hyrule Castle before being able to warp somewhere else. But when performing the campfire glitch and then opening your map, you can warp anywhere you want from inside of the castle. Another relatively new glitch is the Golden Gauntlet glitch that allows you to carry any object that you can normally pick up as if it was only as light as a bomb. To perform it, go to the object you want to pick up and face generally south. Select a bomb rune and hold a sword. Now quickly press these buttons: A, right stick, L. If you did it right, you should now be holding the object just like you would hold a bomb and you can walk around freely. But also just like with a bomb, you can't run, and if you press A, you'll put the object down again. I bet you were wondering why you had to face south during the last glitch. Well, facing north has quite a different effect. The object you try to pick up simply becomes invisible. As soon as you interact with it in this state, it becomes visible again. Of course, both of these glitches apply to any object that you can pick up. Pickup smuggling is an interesting thing that happens if we perform the Golden Gauntlet glitch while having a weapon smuggled at the same time. To smuggle a weapon, place a bomb in front of you, equip a shield, and hold your sword. Now press B to put them both away, but in the animation of putting them away, open your inventory and unequip the shield. Now all that's left to do is to pick up the bomb and throw it away. With the sword now stuck to your hand, place yourself sneaking in front of the object you want to pick up while making sure to face generally south. Press these buttons in very quick succession: L, D-pad down, and A. Link will pick up the object while he's whistling. While he whistles, use the quick selection to change to a different weapon and quickly unequip your shield. If you performed all of these inputs fast enough, the object will now stick to Link's hand. Since it still acts as a physics object, you can push pretty much everything around as well. And yes, this works on anything you can pick up. On everything, including cuckoos. If you manage to pick one up, you can glide with only one arm. And if you perform this while facing north, something rather special happens. The cuckoo is still visibly on the ground, but the game thinks that it is attached to your arm and lets you glide around with no glider or anything of that matter. If you do anything that would drop the cuckoo, the effect stops. If you only want to float without the paraglider, however, there's an easier way of doing that. Pick up a cuckoo, walk towards an edge, jump, and right after jumping, pull out your bow by tapping ZR. The cuckoo will fall down, but you'll still be able to float freely. Breath of the Wild deliberately never lets you play in first-person mode, even when being in VR mode. But how about we do it anyway? There has been another version of this glitch around for a longer time that is being performed with the Master Cycle. But this version here is a lot easier in my opinion, and also doesn't require the DLC. First, smuggle a sword into your hands. Do this by placing a bomb in front of you, equip a shield, and hold your sword. Now press B to put both of them away, but in the animation of putting them away, open the inventory and unequip your shield. Now all that's left to do is to pick up the bomb and throw it away. With the sword now stuck to your hands, re-equip the shield, select the camera rune, hold any item in your hands, and press ZL to hold your shield. Now quickly perform these inputs. Change the selected weapon and instantly press L and plus. This will activate the camera rune and disable it by opening the inventory. If you are fast enough, you can now walk around freely in first-person mode. Just like with the camera module though, doing pretty much anything except for walking will cancel this state. This is because you truly are in camera mode, indicated by the black bars at the top and bottom. If you remember my last video, I showed you a very restrictive way of standing on the Master Cycle 0 during the Dark Beast Ganon fight. Luckily, a new way of standing on the bike has been found. Put an iced choo-choo jelly right where an NPC stands and sit on the Master Cycle. Use ZL to target the NPC and shoot the jelly to freeze yourself just as you press A to talk to them. If you manage to do both at the same time, you can now drive around freely. If you talk too early, you will be frozen after the conversation ends, and talking to them too early will lead to you not being able to talk to them in the first place. This leads us right into the next glitch. You can get the game to make the camera follow a rideable animal while you are in the state of standing on the master cycle. Simply perform the previous glitch to stand on your master cycle and drive to any mountable animal. Press A to mount it. The camera will now most likely be stuck in one place, but using the scope or aiming with the bow will make the game try to keep the animal in the frame because it thinks that you are now sitting on it. If you drive too far away from the horse, the game will make Link invisible, allowing for some fun shots. Also, if there's any object or terrain between you and the horse, the camera will snap back onto you. Clipping through the ground vertically has been possible before by using a horse and apparatus storage, but there has been another technique around for quite some time that is much more flexible and can be a lot faster: ollie clipping. All you need for this is to have a shield and a bow equipped. Stand anywhere high enough to be able to enter bullet time. Now shield surf jump off and trigger bullet time by tapping ZR. Before touching the ground, but low enough to not trigger the paraglider, start mashing X on your controller. If you stay in bullet time and you can see Link start to slowly sink into the ground, mash X in groups of 3 or 4 with a small delay in between the groups. You might have to eat stamina recovering food for this, since the process can take quite a while. Do this until you are through the ground. For some reason, this doesn't work everywhere, so if you find it hard or impossible to get through a certain spot, simply try another one. In shrines, this worked pretty much everywhere for me. You might already know about the glitch that removes the cell shader from objects when standing in this crack at Lake Hylia. There are other spots that have this property as well, but the best spot by far to see this is at the Spring of Courage before opening the doors by clipping in early. I did this by using horse clipping on the first layer and shield clipping on the second one, but any other clipping methods or even wrong warping would work just as fine. In there, at the spots where the outline of the shrine would supposed to be, the cell shader is being removed completely. We can finally observe Link and any other object in their natural beauty. If you found a great shield for shield surfing, but don't want or can't use any more of the shield's durability because it's almost broken, you can perform shield surf property transfer to save on durability. Simply start surfing with the shield and switch to a different one right as you land on the ground. This will let you keep the properties of the first one while using the durability of the one you switched to. As you can see, the Radiant Shield was supposed to break as soon as we landed on the ground, but instead of the Radiant Shield losing its durability, the Guard's Shield did, while also keeping the sliding ability of the Radiant one. You know these Octoroks at Death Mountain that shoot flaming rocks? Well, there's one that's not anywhere near lava, at Eventide Island. If you let the Octorok shoot past you onto the water, the rock won't know what to do with its newfound freedom and starts bouncing on the water, since there's no interaction planned for this to happen. If you touch it in this state, it is still going to explode though. Speaking of lava, for some reason there's an absolutely tiny patch of invisible lava right next to the Colosseum, near those trees. You can jump up and down to splash around in the lava. If it gets too hot after a while, simply jump into the larger patch of invisible water that the devs conveniently placed right next to it. By shooting a single regular arrow into a disguised Giga soldier at the exact moment you talk to them, the arrow gets stuck in mid-air. What do you mean you expected more? It's a floating arrow, that's all. If you want to gain some height to scale a tower or something similar, place yourself where you want to be launched upwards and save. Next, perform a wind bomb in any direction and pause instantly after getting launched and watch a memory. After loading the save from before, you will be launched high into the air. It's a great early game Revali scale replacement. And that's pretty much it for the recap of what happened in the last 6 months or so. I know some of you wondered where I've been and if I was dead for some reason. The reason why I was gone for so long is that I actually do have a life outside of the internet, and there were simply not enough relevant new glitches I could have shown to you at the time anyways. Also, as you might imagine, planning these videos out takes quite some time. This video alone took me around 2 weeks to finish, with all of the planning, recording and editing. Well, anyways, I hope you learned something that you can use in your next playthrough. This is Skyball signing off. See you around next time.